Hey there viewers, thank you for tuning in to Supermariodiagnostics once again. Today we are going to recap the last week event, the ASTE event in Cary, North Carolina. It was pretty awesome and I'm glad to be able to share this with you. We met a lot of great people, a lot of great companies, a lot of tool vendors, distributors, manufacturers, trainers, shop owners, and technicians, and it was a blast. ASTE is an annual event. It's a training and tool expo, and I've taken some interviews with a couple of people, including Corey Bruggemann from S&A Auto in Staten Island, Keith Perkins from L1Training.com and on YouTube, the one and only Paul Danner from ScannerDanner.com and Scanner Danner on YouTube, and Asael Sepulveda from Oz Mechanics on YouTube. I also interviewed Tanner Brandt from AutoDiagClinic.com. And we're going to dive into some of the questions that I have received. You can catch my past interviews on my YouTube channel, where we had similar questions from several automotive professionals in our industry. We're also going to share some clips from some classes that I have taken. One of them is the Pico 7 class from Seth, Thorson, and Justin Morgan from LMVBavarianInd.com. Great instructors. You'll be able to see this for yourself in a few moments. Also, I took a business management class from Chris Cotton from AutoFix, and a Tesla class from Seth Thorson as well. And finally, I took an electrical class from Keith Perkins from L1Training.com. I'm excited to show you everything that we have put together here. This may be a two-part series, and in the next video, we will interview Paul Danner and Azael from Oz Mechanics, and there will be a giveaway as well. I'm excited to show you what it is. If you want to see that video in the upcoming future, be sure to subscribe and tune in when that video comes out. We've got some awesome training clips from the Pico 7 class from Seth Thorson and Justin Morgan. If you want more information, head over to lmvbavarianind.com or just leave a comment in the comment section and I will fill you in on the details. Let's jump right in.
The meter and the scope both work the exact same. They work the exact same. You take your channel lead, which is your red lead on a multimeter, and you're going to subtract the black lead or the ground from it. That's what's displayed. That's why voltage drop works. The only difference is the scope can plot every change that voltage makes across time on a graph. Okay? This one happens to do it stupid fast. Has anybody used pico, whether it was 6 or 7, and you have a severe lag between the time you clicked record and the time stuff actually started showing up on your screen? That is your computer. That's not pico lag. That's your computer. There's actually a setting in pico that sets priority of display versus buffer. Buffer's more important. Why?
You can go back and look at it.
You can go back and look at it. I care more that the hard drive got it more than my eyeball. Does that make sense? So what you're experiencing is your laptop doesn't have enough horsepower to do both, and it's making the determination that it's going to fill up the buffer first, and then whenever the horsepower curve catches up, it will then show it to you on the screen. If you wait about 3 seconds and then hit pause and then wait about another 3 seconds, your capture will show up. That is not pico gap. That's you got a slow laptop. And the software is making the decision to save the data versus show you the data. I like that decision. Because again, I'm not looking at anything live. Very rarely am I ever looking at the scope live going, yep, that's it. Except for wire testing. If I'm doing wiggle testing, yeah, I'm going to be live. If I'm CAN bus and I'm disconnecting things, I'm going to be live. But pretty much everything else is going to be capture a whole bunch of time and go back and review it. What do we need to scope something? Yes, I realize, don't say it, Eric, a scope. Duh, I need a scope. What else do I need to scope the signal? I got to have all the information, right? Wiring diagram. It'd probably be a good idea if I knew what I was supposed to be looking for. Service information, functional description, right? Anybody here ever fixed a car by scoping something and having no clue what it's supposed to look like? That's not how that works. You got lucky. You threw a part of the car and it fixed it and you went, oh, cool. I fixed it with a scope. No, you didn't.
Like back probe has been for a long time the preferred method. I'll tell you with these MQS connectors, don't back probe them. Please don't. You will break the connection and all of a sudden you will induce a problem that you never had. You'll induce something that didn't exist.
Me personally, if I'm going to check timing on something, I want to see it the way it's supposed to work. So I'm not unplugging anything. I'm also going to check it cranking first. Then I'm going to check it running at normal op temp. Because most car lines now, that's the only time you can prove what it should be doing. You don't know what the cold start strategy is. How many of these cars are hanging the exhaust valves open with variable valve timing to mimic EGR and secondary air?
Or if you disconnect actuators, on these cars, Valvetronic will take over and do something dumb. And we do not disconnect actuators for timing checks with the scope.
I just don't. I want to see what it's doing when it's supposed to work, right?
Because they should be in their default rest position when you're cranking.
And on a BMW, if I check it cranking, that's just as good as putting the tools on it, all right? As long as someone hasn't been there before you, because some of our engines are in-series motors. You set the timing of the reluctor with the camshaft, 2 separate tools. So they could have timed the cams correctly and messed up the reluctor portion, and you scope it, or vice versa. They could have messed up the cam and got the reluctor right, and your pattern would look correct, but you still have an out-of-time condition.
The problem, the final exam problem, the reason we have this is we have an issue where you replace the Valvetronic motor, you do the intermediate shaft, all the bearings, and then the DME driver is cooked, and you sold the customer $2,200 to fix it, and now you got to sell them another $2,500. The car's not worth $5,000. It's a bad, ugly pickle. So what we came up with a way to do was test the system to find out before we sell those parts what's good, what's bad.
So that's all I got. If you guys want to roll out the door, you can. If anybody's got a question on sidebar, we're going to be here for a few minutes at minimum. I appreciate the day. I know Seth does. Thank you.
So we found our first victim for this year. We've got Corey Bruggemann. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Corey?
Put me on the spot here, you know. Let's see. S&A Auto, Staten Island, New York. I'm a mobile tech, mobile diagram programming. Been doing that full time for about a little over 2.5 years. Put the wrenches away and went full mobile, and that's about it.
Yeah. How long have you been in the industry?
Really long time because I'm really old. I feel old. I'm, let's see, 30, oh Lord, 36 years now? Yeah, yeah, 36 years.
36 years.
Yeah. I got to do the math. It takes me a while to do the math. I'm old, so even the math is slow. Yeah, 36.
Yeah, what attracted you to the automotive industry?
What attracted me to it? It wasn't an attraction. It was more like I was in high school, and they said you need to pick a major, and what were my choices? And they said, well, you know, you can do language, you can do arts, you can do automotive. And I went, I think I want to try fixing cars. I'll do that, and I did, and I liked it, and I was pretty good at it. It was probably the only thing I was really good at in high school, and so it really wasn't attraction. It was the other way around. I wasn't attracted to it. I did it, and then found out I was attracted to it. If that makes sense.
And what would you say is something that either or shop owners or technicians can do tomorrow to immediately have a positive impact upon our industry?
That's a real. Oh, you got a lot of good battery life on this one.
No, we'll keep it simple.
Yeah, I know, and I say that kiddingly. Change of attitude. I think attitude is key. There's a lot wrong. I think a lot of it boils down to. I'm trying to keep this short, right? Because I'll squirrel off and I'll go on a long tangent. But
short and sweet.
Yeah. I think everybody needs to. Owners need to realize. Owners and technicians need to realize. They need to step up their game when it comes to training. If they want to work on newer stuff, they want to work fast. The idea of every training event is to every training event, right? We want to be faster in our diagnosis. We want to be We want to be concise. We want to be correct, and we want to be least intrusive as possible. That doesn't happen just by working on the vehicles. You have to go to training. You have to learn the new equipment, the new techniques. You have to learn the new technology. The owners and the techs need to embrace that. The owners need to support their techs, and send them. The techs need to be receptive of the offer. and go, and then bring it back to the job and then be more productive, right? We can't do any of that. It has to be a cooperative event, a cooperative understanding. And then two is both sides need to understand this career, this industry is no longer a job. 35 years ago, 40 years ago, you can fill a toolbox, you take your toolbox that has some tools in it and go turn wrenches for a while. I think I'll turn wrenches for a while, and you can't do that anymore. Now it's a career. Owners need to stop hiring like it's a job. It's a career. You have to treat these guys like give them a home, give them understand you're going to come here, and we're going to make you feel welcome. We're going to make you want to stay. We're going to do everything we can to make you part of the family. Make it be a family, and the techs need to be receptive and understand. This is not a. I don't want to say it's not a 9-to-5 job, but this is a career. You like anything, you got to want to do it. And if you don't really want to do this, you're going to get left behind.
What do you say to those people who claim that it's not about a family? I'm not trying to make a family. I'm trying to make a business. What would be your response to somebody with that kind of attitude?
You're not going to get the right employees. You're never going to make a good business. That's simple. That was a good one. I didn't know that was coming. That was a good.
Yeah, I kind of didn't plan for that one. But.
And it's funny because I hear that. I go into a lot of shops and I hear, I'm looking for somebody. Anybody looking for a job? I'm looking for somebody. And I said, okay, what are you doing about it? And they never seem to have the right answer. They're like, well, they have a help wanted sign in the window and they put an ad on Indeed. And I'm like, what does it say? Like, are you just tech wanted? Like, you're not going to get somebody. If you're looking to hire a younger kid or somebody getting into the industry, a C-Tech, yeah, help wanted sign, bring them in, nurture them, yeah, that's how you get it. If you're looking for even a B-Tech, an A-Tech, a diagnostician, help wanted sign's not going to do it. You're not going to get that. If that guy is truly an A-Tech or a diagnostician, he's got hundreds of hours on his own time, researching, learning, taking online courses, taking in-person courses like we are here. This is no easy thing to do. This is a commitment. You're not going to get that guy on a help wanted sign. So yeah, you need to make it a career environment, and if not, you're going to constantly be complaining about you can't get the right guy, and your business is never going to be what it fully could be.
Nice. And there are people who claim that this industry is doomed.
The naysayers.
Naysayers, that's it?
I'm saying, you're talking about the naysayers?
Yeah.
Those are usually the people that have fallen behind and have given up. I'm not looking. I don't want to insult anybody because the industry is not doomed. My opinion, we're in the best position ever with this industry. I'm doing this a long time. I think this is where we always wanted it to be. It's not where it needs to be with pay and the job environment. That needs to be fixed. But the opportunities are better than they have ever been. Again, 35 years ago, you filled a toolbox, you were expected to fix the whole car, bumper to bumper. You're a mechanic, fix everything. Nowadays, you cannot possibly be expected to fix everything. There's not enough time in a day. You're in a toolbox big enough to allow you to fix everything, which is a good thing, because now the expression is stay in your lane, right? 35 years ago, there was one lane, fix the car. Rear end, do a tune-up, do a suspension, whatever, rebuild the transmission. Now, you can make a career out of ADAS. You can make a career out of board work, bench work. You can make your career doing keys and immobilizer, programming, be a diagnostician, and make a whole career out of that. And the best part is, you could switch. You could do keys and immobilizer and decide, that was fun. I think I want to do something else now, and slide right over into another lane. There's lots of opportunities. These events were not here 35, 40 years ago. The guys that are complaining, I can't get no training, you're not asking the right people, you're not trying hard enough. These events are here. These weren't here 35, 40 years ago. The opportunity to get trained like this wasn't here. The social networking wasn't here. This is the best time right now.
Which leads me to my last question. There's a lot of people who also say that the internet has contributed to the downfall of this industry. What would be your response to the people who claim that? They would probably argue that the internet, there's too many forums, there's too many DIYers, and
there are people that say, right, it gives away information that allows people to do the work themselves, so therefore I can't make money doing it. You can't fight evolution. You can't fight technology. It's here, right? So it is what it is. The problem is you need to step up your game. Yes, if you want to learn how to do brakes, you can look up a video and absolutely learn how to do a brake job. And if that is your bread and butter, is doing brakes, and that's what you're counting on, and you're mad that other people have learned how to do their own, you're one of the people that also doesn't go to training, you're refusing to adjust, and I wish you would adjust. And here's the other problem. There's a lot of really good B and C techs out there right now that would make really good A techs and diagnosticians, and they're not being led down the right path. They're not being encouraged, they're not being pushed, they're not being supported, and they're listening to the naysayers that say the industry is screwed. It's not screwed. It's going to change. It's always changed. Everything changes. Listen, we're not chipping wheels out of stone anymore. We're not, everybody, all careers change from, toll collectors. Yeah, we got Metro cards, Easy Passes now. We have, things get automated. Guess what? They learn how to do other things. You learn to change, or you get left behind. So no, the industry is not screwed. It's not. This is a good place. This is great. I wish we had this 35, 40 years ago. This is great right now.
This is the best time.
This is the best time. Me and you would not have met 35 years ago.
Oh no, definitely. Well,
everybody at this table, I would not have met 35 years ago. Yeah. 35 years ago, when you needed help, you went to your shop or wherever you worked. You looked at the guy to the left who didn't know anything, or you looked at the guy to the right who knew, but he didn't want to help you. He kept it a secret. Now we got guys like this. We have forums. We get on a phone. We get on all the chat groups. Hey, I need help. Hey, what's the next event? Hey, who's going to Super Saturday? Who's going to ASTE? Who's going to, yeah, I can't wait to see you there. And we network. This is the best part of the whole event. I mean, not take nothing away. The training is great. The networking is as good as the training.
But I've heard even instructors say that why bother to help people who are asking for help and this and that? You're not contributing to the profitability of the industry. I mean,
there's always bad apples. Don't let a bad apple ruin the bunch. These guys here, all of these guys here are all proof that there's a lot of good in this industry. There's people on YouTube that try to ruin it. There's people on social media that try to ruin it. There's guys out there giving away their talent, right? We're talking about guys that undervalue what they're doing, undercharging, and only hurting the entire industry. I'm not saying we need to charge a lot of money. You need to charge your worth, and it's in every industry. I don't care if it's carpenters or electricians or plumbers. There's always somebody to do it cheaper. But you do the job right. You come in with the right training and the knowledge, and I always say fixing a car requires tooling, knowledge, experience. I screwed that up. Tooling, time, experience, and knowledge, and I charge for all four. There's nothing wrong with that. I think people want that. They want their car fixed fast and correct. Oh. Say hello.
We on camera?
Yes.
What's up?
This is PJ. He's one of the examples of what's not wrong with the industry.
Yeah, great example. Well,
no,
thank you, Corey.
PJ's the man.
Yeah,
Listen. Watch this. Hold on. I'm going to steal your camera. Look at all these fine guys. Wait. Look at all these. Look. This is what I'm talking about. I'm probably shaking the camera like crazy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we gotta go catch up with everyone else too.
They all went across the street.
Yeah.
These are the guys of what's right with the industry. So don't listen to the naysayers, the guys that say the industry's shot, the people that say we ruin stuff, and certain guys are ruining the industry by whatever.
I think we've seen enough negativity as it is. Why do we have to listen to these people who say that, the internet is this? I mean, you can't fight it. Like you said, it evolved. We have to adapt. That's what the technician does day in, day out, is adapt to the next problem.
Even like the YouTube channel. Listen, you have a YouTube channel. I have one. I want to get people excited about the industry. Are people going to use the information to fix their own car and not bring their car into the shop? Yeah, of course it's going to happen. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose is to show people what it takes to fix their car right. why their mechanic may have to hold their car for a couple of days and put so much time into it, because this is what really takes to go. They don't understand. People don't understand. I get that. You don't understand what it takes to fix a car. It's mystery. It's smoke and mirrors. And then there's also the other part. Some young adult, male or female. No gender thing here. Male or female looking to go. That's really interesting. I want to do that.
Right.
I didn't realize. There's a huge misconception, and this is something I'm trying to address personally. Trying to put an event together. To get away from the old grease monkey title that we have. There are a lot of kids who are getting, young adults, I'll stick with young adults, people that aren't getting in the industry because they have the wrong impression about what this industry is. Whether it be that, number one, their parents talking, don't listen to your parents when they tell you not to do something. Do what you got to do. I tell my kids all the time, don't listen to me, you do whatever makes you happy. You got parents talking to kids out of doing something, whether it be automotive or anything else, because they think it's best for them. Your parents are probably misinformed. Your siblings, your friends are probably misinformed. They need to know that it's not about just busting your knuckles, getting your hands dirty for the next 30, 40 years. There's a lot out there. And that's what needs to change. So go back to your first question. The attitude needs to change. And people need to get the right information.
I completely agree. I think the internet actually helps. How else are the up and coming
get the message out?
Gonna know? How are they gonna know what's involved unless they see it from the inside? What, are you just gonna paint them a fairy tale, or are you gonna do like what others do and make mechanics out to look like they're something they're not? I'd rather just share what we do daily and
listen. There are bad doctors and plumbers and electricians and carpenters and mechanics everywhere. We get it. There's always bad apples. But there's also a lot of good. And this is a great. Listen, if this is something you're interested in, this is an industry you're interested in, take a harder look. Come to an event, ask questions, and listen. Maybe you think you want to get into the industry, and you'll come to the event and realize it's not for me. That's fine too.
at least you tried.
I'd rather see somebody make the change than spend 40 years doing something wrong, doing something they hate.
Can you imagine the people who have been doing this for so long and they say that the industry is doomed after being here
I feel
so
bad.
long?
I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at those people. I feel bad I have empathy for them because they're probably really good techs, really good mechanics. Could you imagine
something robbed them of their first love for doing what we do?
I got into that funk for a while. Well, I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And the change wasn't changing what I do for a living. It was just changing how I do what I do for a living. And that's what we all have to be flexible. Listen, the old joke is, the next greatest singer just decided not to pick up a microphone and go fill a job, doing something they hate. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the next greatest diagnostician, next greatest automotive instructor right now decided to listen to somebody else and take that job? I don't want to downplay anybody's job, but doing a different job because somebody else told them that's what they should go do, and now they're not going to be.
They won't know what could have been.
They'll never know.
They'll never know.
So,
thanks a lot, Corey.
Told you I'd ramble.
It is all good. Much appreciated. I appreciate every single word you've spoken. And those of you who don't know, he has a YouTube channel, S&A Auto, Staten Island. If you guys don't know this, he won't say it. I'll say it. He's in Staten Island now. He is the diet guy at Staten Island. And he's keeping up with the best of them. And he's killing it out there. He's crushing it.
Thank you.
And it's the true motivation to our industry. I really think that everyone should heed his words. And hopefully we'll get some more coming out of you soon enough.
I'm going to try. Hopefully pretty soon I'll have a little more time on my hands to... once I drop one of my 6 jobs, I may have a little more time. So we'll see what we can do, some positive for the industry. See if I can contribute a little bit more.
Looking forward to it.
That's the hope.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
If you think about what we do versus the healthcare industry and everything else.
Cars change every year.
Yeah, cars change every year. And you work on how many models if you're a general repair shop, and then if you're a Euro shop, like Audi has electric vehicle now, Mercedes is coming out with a vehicle. What kind of training are you going to have to do to stay on top of that? And how do you compensate people for it? But guess what? You have to pay the people in order to have the people. And I coach some really great shops, and I will tell you, we're not struggling for people, but we're also paying top of the industry pay and benefits. I've got a shop in Tucson. A guy wanted to move to Tucson. He was looking around. He came to our shop, moved from Utah to Tucson. And that goes more to image and website and thing like that, because the guy searched everywhere in Tucson to decide where he wanted to go. He's a Porsche technician. And he's a year in now, and we're getting ready to move another one of the guys that he worked with from Utah to Tucson, because the guy talks about what a great shop that's there. But you take technicians to things like this. This is a benefit. If people don't know what they're doing or what their plan is, or there's no training plan for a technician, especially at the lower levels, they flame out and go on and do something else because there's no upside, right? We live in Durango, Colorado, which per capita has the most restaurants, even more than San Francisco, than anywhere else in the United States. Like, there's a restaurant every 20 feet. And you can walk by restaurants and they have a sign up that we're only open Tuesday through Sunday. Then you go in and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have enough people. They have a shirt that says, please, whatever. I'm so sick of that. But you can walk 2 doors down and they have service staff standing around waiting for you. And the difference is what they pay and how they treat their people. Does everybody in here have employee handbooks with job descriptions? A couple. Okay. So for just a second, I've got guardrails in right here, okay? If somebody that doesn't have it, if you wanted to discipline an employee, if you wanted to coach an employee, or anything like that, how do you do it if you don't have a handbook with job descriptions?
That's why I have it.
Okay. You can't, because there's no written guide. People call me all the time, clients, and they're like, hey, I got this situation, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. I'm like, what does your handbook say? And they're like, oh, okay, this is what the handbook says. And I'm like, then that's how you need to handle it. And if your handbook isn't written properly the way you want it done, then you have to revise it and then do it and then share it. But if, like, we're talking about holding technicians accountable or talking to them about productivity and things like that, if we don't have a mechanism to hold them accountable, then the whole system's shot and you can't hold anybody accountable. And that's what, like I said, 3 things that shop owners should be doing. I should probably add a 4th. Coaching and mentoring your employees.
All right, so we got Keith Perkins here. Keith, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Maybe some of you haven't heard of him.
Keith Perkins. I do instructor stuff for CarQuest Technical Institute, for WorldPack, a lot of stuff under my own banner, L1 training, and do some YouTube stuff, not quite as big as Mario, but just some, I've been a lot less active recently, I guess, I'd say. A lot of Facebook groups and stuff, but I'm a technician. I've got a mobile business in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we have 3 technicians that drive around Tulsa area, service in other shops. We've got the training company, we've got a brick and mortar building, so we just everything automotive, man.
Yeah, I think you got a training event coming up, right?
Yeah.
At your own place?
Yep. In January, we've got another programming, 2-day hands-on programming class.
Nice.
JBox, OE tools, and even beyond that. Some, not really EEPROM, but some other solutions, IO terminal, a bunch of other stuff.
Nice. How can somebody find more info on that real quick?
Oh, yeah. L1 training, the letter L, the number 1 training.com. And then there's an events tab on the top banner. And you can click that and see all the events I'm going to be at and events we hold at the shop.
Nice. I have mentioned this website before. Anybody who's interested in doing programming and whatnot, go check out L1 Training. But for now, we're just going to kind of ask them some of the questions that we've been asking around at this event. This is the ASTE event. And it's actually the last day of this event. It's been amazing. The training classes have been awesome. I took a class of his as well, just like within 20 minutes ago, and it's been awesome. So let's see what we can find out from him in the same questions. The first question pretty much is like, what attracted you to the automotive industry at the very beginning,
Yeah, so I was into cars as a kid, mainly because I'm a 4th generation technician. So my great-grandfather had a shop, Morrison Sons Automotive in Oklahoma, and then my grandfather worked there. All of my uncles worked there, and this was on my mom's side, actually. And then kind of, always been around people working on cars, so always thought cars were kind of neat. Never actually chose it as a career in the beginning, though. Like it was a way to pay through school, through 2 different degree programs I went through, both of them unrelated to the automotive industry. And then I wasn't really super attracted until I realized that I could make more money fixing vehicles than what I could through the two different other career paths I thought I was going to do.
Yeah. How long have you been in this industry?
So I was always in it from probably 2004 or 5 on, either in some kind of part-time capacity, weekends working in shops, working in machine shops, sold auto parts for a long time. I didn't become a full-time professional technician until 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't actually take a full-time job, forget everything else, and fix cars to take care of the bills and finances until about 2014.
Yeah, I started in 2013, so
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And what are some things that you have noticed? What is one thing that a shop owner or a technician can do tomorrow that will have an immediate positive impact upon our industry?
Right. So everyone always says send your guys to training and all these things, but you got to do something today, right? So if you're a shop owner and you want to do something today to make a huge difference, pick out that technician of yours that has a good critical thinking mindset, the one that you can see that likes to learn, that maybe you're not giving them any training, but and hopefully you are, but tell them what, like I said in class today, the next car you work on, you diagnose, I'm going to pay you an additional hour to go re-diagnose that car, but I want you to try to find a faster method to do that, a more effective method, a better test procedure. Put the bad part back on, go look at all the scan data, take note of how that vehicle operates with the failed component, put the new part back on and compare that scan data and come up with a quicker test plan. But as a shop owner, you have to pay your technicians for that. So if they're flat rate, you've got to tell them, I'm paying you 1 hour and you have 45 minutes to go do it. So he's making some productivity in that too. It's cost you 1 hour of labor. What your top tech, it's going to cost you what, $50, $55? Yes, lost productivity as well. Totally get that. I'm a shop owner. But if you can do that once a week for each of your technicians, that'll probably be a huge difference today. Especially if you're showing them you're going to invest in them, they're more likely to hang around.
Yeah, a lot of shop owners might argue that, well, why should I, train my techs? And we got too much cars. We've got to keep producing. Mm-hmm. What would be your response to somebody that says something like that?
So I service 300 and something shops in Tulsa, and I have a lot of them tell me that it's just not worth our time. We just call you. Those shops call me multiple times a week. I make tens of thousands of dollars off those shops, and that's the revenue they've lost that they could have made themselves, right? So yes, there's gravy work out there. And if your business plan is to keep with the gravy work and just sublet that other stuff, that's okay. If you are okay with giving away that labor. But I think you've probably noticed as a shop owner, if you're saying that in the back of my eye, that doesn't make any sense business-wise, I'll just keep making the gravy money and the profit money. If you look at that, I bet you're giving up more and more every single year because more and more easy jobs are becoming more difficult.
Right, since anybody could do them, right? So
right.
There's always going to be more competition for the things that anybody can do.
Right. And if you're not paying your techs really well because you're subletting out to someone else to come do it, and you're like, I'll keep doing the gravy jobs, eventually you're going to be left with no talented technicians, and everything that's not a brake job or ball joints or something has to get sublet out. Yeah. Is that really what you want to do, is turn all your customers away?
And these cars aren't getting any easier.
No, I will guarantee if we revisit this conversation in 5 years,
we'll
know a lot less shops that are out of business.
Yeah. Well, somebody might be like, well, I'll just do tires all day. I mean, I guess it all depends on what kind of shop they want to be, right?
I think if you're cool and specializing in that, go for it. Just don't gripe when you don't have good technicians. If you're not sending them to training and keeping them up to date and keeping them doing these things every day, don't expect them to be good at those things, right? Yeah. If you're not investing in them, then what does it show? Like if you take pride in your house, do you mow the lawn? Do you do updates? Do you change the moldings? Do you get a new countertop? Do you invest in your house because you see value in it? You should do the same thing with people, right?
I agree completely, man. I like that way of thinking. There are people, though, who say that this industry is doomed. It is just on a downward trajectory. What well, they could be saying that whether it's due to the lack of talent, maybe since we're going towards electrification, maybe the industry won't keep up in their eyes, and they're just basically saying, well, why should I go into this industry if this is going to turn into like just electrical stuff? And, you know, what would you say to somebody like that the industry is just doomed?
That's a big, multifaceted question, because in some aspects, I feel like it is definitely going to get way worse before it gets better. We're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years, think about cars technology today that's in the dealer networks that are even having problems being fixed. I mean, you're seeing some newer cars, right?
Yeah.
So those kinds of cars, think about them being in shops that aren't trained, right? Because they're not seeing a lot of those lower value shops, lower cost shops, are not getting really new vehicles. 5 years from now, when they've got 17, 18, 19s, and 20s in their bays, and they're not trained up for that kind of those processes, the architecture of vehicles being used today, even the fact that they can't even use their scan tool on some of these cars, right? That's going to push to where we're going to see more and more shops go out of business, and the amount of vehicles that need repaired is not going down. We're not going to see, we're seeing a longer and longer lifespan of the vehicle, right? So, and the population isn't decreasing any. It's increased like crazy. So we're going to have more and more vehicles. We're going to get more vehicles, more difficult to repair. I think we're going to see less shops, by far a lot. So you're going to have a lot more vehicles waiting to be repaired. So it's going to be a public outcry of, my car's been sitting at the dealer for 6 months. We already hear about that, right? Parts problems, supply chain problems. So yeah, I think it's going to get real bad that way first. But there's that sector of our automotive industry that's all you guys show up to training, and everyone that comes that wants to be better. We're going to have a larger lion's share of those repairs, but there's going to be a waiting period. There's not enough of us. There's not enough people that are interested in doing this. And then the other part of your question of not attracting people into this industry, not getting new people to come in because they're really into mechanical repairs or lifted trucks and off-road stuff, and they're like, I'm not into EVs and all that. I like, suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's hearing a V8 engine, hearing stuff run. That's not going to go away for a really long time. We're going to 50, 60 years at least of gasoline internal combustion engines. What we're going to see is a huge push towards EV. A lot of this legislation in these very non-conservative states are going to push towards that. We're going to see a huge influx of vehicles there, and they're going to have a real big problem with the infrastructure. Our power system and everything is not designed to hold all this, so we're going to see the transition to allowance of hybrid vehicles, right? They said you got to be all electric, no gasoline until this year or whatever. We're going to see them pivot that to hybrid EVs. We're going to see a big insurgence of hybrid and EVs in combination, and then those cars aren't going away. I'm in rural Oklahoma. You're not hauling hay with a Tesla. It's not happening.
Right.
Not yet. We're not there.
How can we get shop owners to get on the board, man? Like to start sending their techs to training? A lot of them argue that why should I train them? They're just going to be getting trained for the competition. My techs are just going to leave. What would you answer to somebody that thinks that way?
Oh, I'm going to say, if you're afraid of, what if I train them and they leave? What if you don't train them and they stay, right? Then you got some guy that's going to cost you a ton of money on misdiagnosis and parts. And here's the double-edged sword, Mario. Those technicians that are putting in 5, 6 parts to a car before they fix it, if their shop is being kind of crooked and charging the customer for all those parts, they're making more money they're selling more jobs than we are.
Yeah.
Right? We're diagnosing a car and we're selling one part, fix it right the first time. Well, the guy in the bay next to you that gets to, not at your shop, but the guy down the road that gets to put on 6 parts, that's a $1,200 ticket for his shop.
Right.
It was a $400 ticket for yours.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is the public. The public needs to recognize that automotive repair as it isn't how it should be, right? That there's a lot of value in having a good quality technician, and that I hope that they start to recognize that and spend their money at better places, coming to you and getting the car fixed right the first time, right? So for a shop owner, if you're greed driven, keep on keeping on. If you want to do the right thing and be better than the people down the street, then you need to send your technicians to training. You're not going to be able to keep up. You're already sending a ton of stuff to the dealer. You're turning stuff away all the time. It's only going to get worse. Right?
Yeah, they're just sticking to their what's in their wheelhouse. But I also truly believe that the only way that shops can be profitable while changing parts, being parts changers at the expense, well, not really at the expense, but the only way they could continue to be profitable while changing parts and misdiagnosing and diagnostics and all that's the way that, how we see it, is if they allow it. And the only way they would allow it is if they're making money from it. Because
That's right.
why would a shop spend all this time, oh, let's throw an EGR on it, let's throw a coil on it, let's throw a computer at it, if they were losing all that money?
Yeah.
And all that labor, all the time that's being spent misdiagnosing that one vehicle, and it's per vehicle. So
Yeah.
that's the only way I see that they can continue is if they're charging the customer for it.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't survive if it was any other way, if you were doing it right. So
Yeah, that's probably the answer. Then the general public's got to learn that, oh, we've got to try this first is not not supposed to be commonplace. It happens, right? You do sometimes get where like, look, it's this or it's this.
right.
And there's no way for us to test it, but this is significantly cheaper. We'd like to try this with the understanding of you knowing that we have a lot of data to say it's one of these two components, and we just think it's less expensive to try this part, right? That's okay. If you come to that conclusion and you're honest with the customer, and you tell them this is where we're at, we have evidence to prove this, I think to some degree it's okay. But if your answer is we don't have the training, we got to try this first, and you get 5 parts down the line, it should really come down to 2 parts, maybe 3, and that should still be super rare, right? And that's not very common. So yeah, it comes down to the public just recognizing that there's good shops and bad shops, and how do we differentiate?
Right, how would they know different? I mean,
Right.
they just know commercials. They see an ad, they hear an ad, and all
Yep.
they know is
Every
that
shop
every
says
shop
we're
is
the
the best.
We're the best. Every shop.
Every shop is the best.
Yeah, every shop says they've got ASC technicians. That's
Right.
a minimum level mark. And ASC is
Basics.
this is the minimum. That means you understand the basics, right?
Yeah.
It's, even ASC is good about like talking about that. They're like, look, it doesn't mean you're a master. It means you've mastered the basics. Like you just understand how it works. A funny little thing for you and for viewers is I do stuff with ASC, right? So I'm a little bit of a proponent
Right.
of ASC. When we judge the score levels of these tests, we have to imagine what the worst possible technician is that should be able to pass this test. That's how we come up with passing scores.
Oh, wow.
Is the person who is they don't say it this way, but this is how I explain it. The dumbest guy you can imagine that you should allow to work to be certified. What should he make on that score? Right? Because we have to set a minimum, and that's all it is. And that's why ASC says, look, we're a minimum. Continue your education, continue to get better. So that's the thing with ASCs is like you can't use that, right? You can't use that as a standard of what's good or bad.
I mean, I don't think that it's a bad thing to use it.
No, but
Not abuse it.
It's not the end-all tell-all, though.
Right, but the public should know that this is just,
I think
at
the public
very-
should recognize that should be a minimum.
Yeah, at the very least, they're training, they're trying their best to at least have that. It's a basic requirement, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because right now we don't have any other, regulation, nor do I think we need
No, don't need the government stepping
government
in.
regulation. Maybe, in inner circle regulation, we should regulate ourselves.
We should
but
self-regulate as an industry. We should hold it to be unacceptable to not be at least this and then do X amount of continuing education.
right,
If as technicians we all banded together and said, look, we're not working for shops unless they send us to 40 hours of training a year, minimum. I mean, we do 100, I think it needs to be about 100, but that's not cost effective for everybody.
so
right?
you require your employees to take 100 hours
Yeah,
of
instructor-led.
continuing
Yeah,
education.
instructor-led in-person training. We get a lot of that at Vision. We shut down as a whole shop and go.
Wow.
So we're getting, hours and hours of instruction there. And then I haven't been doing a great job of it, but we try to do in-person training every week in the shop. Wednesday for the first part of the day, we're closed down. We don't go do jobs, so we update scan tools, have a company meeting about what are we missing in the tools and equipment, and we talk about some of the diags that we've done, like little mini training sessions. Like Zach 1 ran into this one that was weird, so we need to keep in mind that X module does this when programming it. You got to do X, Y, Z, or this car has this style of ignition system that's awkward, or So trying to do consistently, but yeah, we try to make sure we do 100 hours of training.
So what about the shop owners that say, there's no way I could possibly close down my shop, I'd lose my business. What can they do to kind of not ease the burden, but if anything, make training and closing down the shop and sending everybody to training something that they can use to propel sales and, and keep their customers coming back, or even more, have better results
Yeah.
getting customers in.
It's not cost effective for everyone to shut down for every single event, right? My guys aren't
Right.
here at this event. We do Vision every year, and then we do whenever like ATG comes around to the Tulsa market, we'd send the guys to that and other different training events. I mean, I'm an instructor, but everyone learns different, right?
Yeah.
I got a guy that doesn't learn well from videos. I do a ton of training videos. I got hundreds of hours of content, right? I actually have 2 guys that don't learn that way very well, right? So they do it better when we sit down and we do a one-on-one instruction. We get on a car and do it, right? So sending to training is hard. It's expensive, but you got to raise your rates. That's the answer. You know.
So build it into the cost.
Yeah. You got to pay. It's got to be a pillar of your business. You've got to have training as something that's important. Even if you can bring a trainer in, you can do a half day of training, and there's all kinds of
Daytime training?
Yeah, daytime training. There's video training. Like you guys at your shop, do you guys watch other training videos, or are you just doing your own thing? Okay.
We do.
Yeah. So if the other guys in the shop are like, okay, well, we're going to watch this video together at lunchtime or something. That's training. That's valuable. Right. Just talking about your diags that you do. If you at least create some kind of culture in your shop as a shop owner that it's acceptable and pushed and rewarded to train and better yourself, that's going to help. That's a big first step. No, you may not be able to in your first year. If you're squeezing by financially as a shop owner, you got a lot of things to worry about, right? I think it's still really important that you add training as quickly as possible, but get your P's and Q's in order, and then start building that in the cost. Start making a fund. Raise your rates $5, and then take $5 of every hour you sell a week and put it into a training fund. Take $2 of every hour you sell in a week and put it into a training fund.
And not just to cover the training event itself, but the days that your guys and girls are missing, the possible missed, sales of those days.
Yeah.
And then getting them back, all the missed sales pretty much,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does change the cost of the whole thing, and I'm not a shop owner, I won't pretend to be, but he is, and he's doing it all the time. He's taking his team out to training, and he's one of the most successful and quickly blooming shop owners and technicians that I know right now. So I think you're proving it. You're proving that it's working.
Guys say, I can't do that. I'm like, my shop's only been open since 2020. Yeah, I'd have to ask Liz for sure exactly when we kind of opened it. I'm terrible with dates and times and all that.
Me too.
I'm like, oh, it was the other day. Like, that was 3 years ago. What are you talking about? I mean, me as an individual doing mobile diag and all those things, I've only been doing it since November 5th, 2018.
Nice.
That's when I got fired.
Yeah.
November 5th. I'll never forget the date, man. And then, starting mobile, and then now we got a brick and mortar and all those things. So it's doable. If you put your technicians first, and when we say pay for training, we mean we close the shop down, and they're clocked in for each day during training. So they're paid the whole time they're there, and I pay for all their expenses and their travel. It should not cost your technicians any money to go to training. It costs them their weekend, but they're being paid.
Right.
They're clocked in. They get overtime. We do training events at the shop, and my guys all have to come. They're clocked in. So they worked 7 days that week. That sucks, but it's training. It's a little bit of a break. It's a good time. They really do enjoy it.
Yeah,
we have a good time.
That's part of it too.
Yeah. And when we go to Vision, same thing. It's a long week for everybody. We close down the shop Wednesday. They get done Thursday. They come out. I think last year they stayed till Thursday because all of them wanted to. There's a couple cars they wanted to get out or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Paid for the whole event for them to come and paid them while they were there. They were clocked in. That's important. If you're sending them to training in the afternoon, doing those afternoon classes from the parts stores and stuff to come around, they need to be clocked in. They need to be paid.
Agreed.
That's important.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up with the last question. It's been thrown around a couple times. A lot of people claim that the internet has had a negative effect on the automotive industry, whether it be, like forums, DIYers taking it upon themselves to...
You mean YouTube?
YouTube, yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who have different angles with that. Maybe it's the groups, public groups, and anybody could just look up a YouTube video and know how to do a certain job and then undercut the competition. What would you say to somebody like that?
If you're worried about an unskilled individual watching a video and taking your job, it's probably because you're not very good at it, first of all. I can see some thought process on that, on like wheel bearings and brake jobs and stuff like that. Somebody following it, but realistically, it's a video. They can search it out somewhere. They're going to find it somewhere. It's a group, right? I don't think that there's DIYers watching a YouTube video of you scoping something and they're going to go out and buy a Pico or an Autel and go do that and take your job from you, right? Most of us are displaying techniques for professional technicians, and then there's those naysayers that say, well, now you're giving away training info for free, right?
Right.
I think the spark of people that are now interested and know that there's other training out there has far exceeded the amount of free info that we may have given out. I mean, how many guys were in this room had never been to a training event and they're like, yeah, I watched your video, Mario, and I found out about it. You're going to be at ASTE, right? And I think that's wild. So I think we're pushing people to training more than anything. So if you're worried about that, I don't know how to explain to you how to put your mind at ease that that's happening, but we need more people. We need people inspired to be in this industry. We need people to come to training, and they're all on social media, almost everybody, especially the young crowd. If you're a shop and you don't have social media, I mean, I think you're at fault. You're not doing anything to help the industry. You're not sending your guys anywhere. They don't know. You're disservicing your technicians by not knowing about all the events that are happening. So I'll turn it around on you. I think if you're not getting involved in that kind of stuff, it's your fault, right? We're the ones fixing cars and trying to be better people and better technicians and help other technicians. And I think if you're naysaying that, it's your problem.
Yeah. What about those shop owners who are like, oh, well, it's not my responsibility to care about the automotive industry. All I got to do is worry about my own business. It's their problem.
More power to them. They can stay in their little corner, but if you're not worried about that, then I don't want to hear the gripes about, well, I can't find technicians. Well, then you're not helping the situation any. I don't know why you can't find technicians. Maybe it's because you have low labor rates and a bad culture, and you're not paying well, and I know you work at a shop where you got to buy your own tools, right? But that's one of my things. I think that needs to be the next big thing. We need to change the flat rate system, demolish it. Sorry, if you probably make good money on flat rate. Are you flat rate?
No, I'm not on flat rate.
Okay, are there any guys in your shop that are?
One guy decided that he wants to be flat rate.
Right, because he wants to do R&R stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's younger. Right?
No, he's an older guy.
Older guy, really?
Ex-shop owner.
Oh, he's killing it then. So he's in that mindset.
Yeah, he's there. I mean, he loves it.
Look, I get it. There are people that make more money on flat rate because they're slamming parts, right? But for the rest of us that are trying to fix cars right the first time, there's a time investment there. I'll never work flat rate. I'm never going to ask one of my diagnosticians to be on flat rate. We pay hourly plus bonuses for how well the shop does, and that's those kinds of things. The guys that are, I guess, drifted real far from your question, but that's
fine.
Yeah, I mean that's my pet peeve. I think shop owners need to push towards buying tools for their technicians. At least start with specialty tools, buying all the scan tools, buying all the timing tool sets, just letting them only hand tools all they need to supply. We personally at my shop buy every single tool. There's nothing. My technicians need to show up with shoes and pants, and I'll give them a shirt and and a jacket and a hat and all the tools that they need: gloves, flashlights, batteries, flashlight batteries, everything. Every single thing is purchased by me. I provide them with a vehicle. Even my guy Zach that doesn't work in a van, he gets a company vehicle. It's a perk. When you look at it from a business standpoint, you have to, for every dollar that you pay, technician, you're 7.5% of that you got to pay on that, and so do they, right? So if you can give them other perks to make life easier for them, give them a car, pay for their fuel, give them a phone. Yes, their pay might be a little less for that, but then they're not paying 7.5% of that to the government. Neither am I, right? It's perks of the business. So it's something that as a shop owner you can provide those things that your technicians want. Buy them new jackets every year. Buy them. There's things you can do to make the culture better in there to change that. And yeah, I'm completely so far from the
No, you're fine.
At this point.
I'm wondering, when are you going to start teaching shop owner business classes? Because
it's funny because
you're doing it. Yeah. You're doing it, man.
Yeah.
So
you know what they're going to say? They're going to let me see your P&L. They're going to look and see you're only making 9%, 10% net. I'm like, I'm cash burning because we're growing like crazy. We grew 189% over last year.
Wow.
Okay, so it costs money to do that. So what those shop owners will say is, I want a boat or I want a yacht, right? I can't afford a boat. Or covered the mic, sorry. Can't afford the boat or the yacht, right? I can't, because I've chose to make all my technicians happy. I've also had 0 turnover since the inception of our business.
Nice.
Not a single person's left. Somebody might leave. It'll happen one day. Somebody will leave, right? It won't jive. It might see greener on the other side. But what I can tell you is that I've done everything I can to make it a good workplace, right? Stocked the fridge full of food and drinks, everyone's favorite drinks. Energy drinks are getting out of control right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But, Gatorades and waters and snacks. We buy lunch once a week at least. Had a good customer tip us the other day with $100-something bucks, so we bought everyone steaks that day. And
Nice.
then we did team lunch a day later, so they were like, we did steaks 2 days in a row. And so it was I'm sure it was a little rough for a few of them. But trying to create that culture where everyone wants to stay and doing all the training, we've got to. And the big thing is keeping an open door at that, because I say all this stuff, right? And then I started slacking on the training thing for the last couple months. So while I was gone, I told Liz back at the shop, I said, hey, talk to the guys about what things that I can do better. It's hard, it's hard for you to go to your boss and tell them what you can change, right? Mm-hmm. So create some kind of open door policy, create a Google form that's anonymous, and have all your techs fill out a questionnaire and send it to you. What can I change? What would you like to see different in the shop? And get anonymous answers, right?
Nice.
That way, no one's worried about retaliation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, tons of things you can do to try to just ask your guys, like, what can I do better? What can I change? What can I, and tell people you appreciate them. That's a big one. I started slacking on that a bunch too. It's hard to do that, because people we don't normally. It's hard for us to go, hey, Mario, I really appreciate how good you did this week. I see you really helping everybody out. That's hard, right? As a shop owner. So try to remember that. Write it down. Make a calendar note on your phone.
I mean, you're a busy guy.
That happens twice every week.
You got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it catches up to you real fast.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my spiel of all the kinds of things shop owners can start mowing over and try to change things, and little stuff that raise your rate to offset the cost. It doesn't have to cost you. I'm okay with making less money as a shop owner, knowing that everybody else has got a better job. And if I can overpay everybody as I raise the rates and get to the point where, honestly, when you think about it, if I could pay everyone enough to where it'd be stupid to leave, if they can't make that much money anywhere else,
Right.
trap them, right? but in a good way.
Yeah.
They're way overpaid for what they do, and we try to make sure, no place is perfect. My place isn't perfect. We have definitely our faults, but try to do what I can to make it dumb to leave.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in Tulsa, there's not a lot of shops that offer that.
Yeah. Wow, man. Thanks for sharing all that, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry we couldn't do it sooner.
No, you're good. Keith Perkins, L1training.com. He teaches programming, and soon enough he's going to be a business instructor as well. And I hope you all enjoyed this one, and use this as motivation, and hopefully it helps inspire others to do the same, to do what he's been able to do in a very short time. Thanks again for watching. Catch y'all later.